welcome and thank you for tuning in to the Believe in Yourself podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Believe, better known as kevbiyi, man. And if you yourself are interested in creating your own podcast, let me show you how to do it, man. Let me give you some great advice. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. I only need two things real quick. Listen in close. Number one, it's free. That should say it all right there. But if that's not enough, number two, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. That means you can start making money from day one on your podcast and start putting that money to good use. So, let me give you the information. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.FM to get started today. And I want to hear your podcast. Peace. Welcome back to the Believe in Yourself podcast, man. Thank you guys for tuning in to all these episodes, man. And make sure if you've missed any episodes, you go back and listen to them. But today we have a very special guest, man, another chef. I hope you guys know I love to eat, man. And this guy is actually a vegan chef. So tune in as we sit down with Say Hi Keith. Peace. Thank you for tuning in to the Believe in Yourself podcast. Now I'm your host, kevbiyi, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been tuning into these episodes. And I pray, and my prayer is that everyone has been getting some type of inspiration, motivation, or even some tips and tricks of the trade that they can use in their everyday journey or lives into entrepreneurship, professionalism, or just downright living. Now, if you want some more from our guests on the show, we're eventually going to be partnering with them and bringing you some special discounted items later on. So if you love these guests and love the things that they have to offer and you would love to support and build the community, all you need to do is text BIY to 31996. That's BIY to 31996, and let's grow this community together. Peace. Welcome to the Believe in Yourself podcast. I'm your host, kevbiyi. Today we have a special guest, Say Hi Keith, the chef. It's going to be a great, dope interview. Remember, anybody who wants to join the Believe in Yourself network, you just want to dial or text BIY to 31996. That's text BIY to 31996. And you guys will be able to join the community. And we're going to be giving out special discounts and offers. And you get to have special announcements, heads up, whenever we're going to be doing something special with the community. So it's definitely something that you would like to be a part of and join. Definitely text BIY to 31996. I want to thank everybody who participated in last month's raffle. The raffle was a great success. We were able to donate a good amount of money to the charity. And Kosi Clemens, or Donna Clemens, who won the raffle, is going to be receiving her elderberry and sea moss. This month, we got another special raffle for you. The prize will be a book from Billionaire PA, the first book that he wrote. So it's definitely going to be interesting. So you definitely want to get a hold of that. And if you guys want to participate in this month's raffle, all you need to do is send, each raffle ticket is $1, and you're going to send your dollar to the hashtag IBelieve15. And that's where you'll be able to be a part of the book by Billionaire PA, and it's signed by Billionaire PA. So what's going on?
What's going on?
How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, man. Can't complain. How's the weather on your side?
Hot.
It's definitely hot over here. We're getting over this tropical storm this weekend.
Yes.
It was pretty interesting. I mean, it wasn't too bad. I don't know if that's because I'm used to having these type of weather living in South Florida from what I'm normally hurricane season is like, but it was just a little bit of flooding. Not too bad, but it's definitely now it's humid. Now the rain's gone. It's just hot out there. Man.
Yeah, which that's like Florida was always, well, still is like one of my places to go for vacation because the weather just like here in Houston.
Definitely. You got that good year-round beaches.
Yeah. And they look better.
That's definitely a good plus right there. So what else you got going on today, man? What do you have doing?
So I made some gumbo.
Okay. What kind of gumbo?
So it's a all vegetable gumbo. I call it the veggie gumbo. But it tastes like seafood. Like I put squash in there, different types of mushrooms, like some seafood mushrooms, oyster mushrooms, sometimes shiitake, and then other vegetables, whatever seasonal. Because essentially gumbo, at least from my perspective of it, with my food philosophy, gumbo is really just a soup.
Yeah.
And so when I break it down to that foundational element, it's like, well, it doesn't really matter what you put in the soup as long as the base is what it's supposed to be.
Okay. And nice and chunky, like most gumbo is, correct?
Yeah.
Do you try to, I remember there was something I tried from a vegan restaurant. It was it's like a prawn or something like that. It looks like a shrimp, but it's like a root.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah.
It's,
man, and I know what it is. It's at the tip of my tongue. It's cognac root. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. It's tasty.
Yeah.
So all the tricks. Yeah, definitely. It tricks people into thinking it's shrimp. That's what the guy told me. People think it's shrimp sometimes.
Yeah.
So with all of this stuff going on, man, of course we got the elections coming up. How do you feel about the climate of our country? Are you yay 2020, Biden?
That is funny. So, for one, I know that, or at least I think I know, Kanye's not really running for president. He's probably about to drop an album soon.
I don't think he's going to make it in time.
Well, there's that too. He started too late. Like, if he was serious about it, because he talked about it years ago. But for him to just now be starting the campaign, like, grassroots, it's a little late. Like, most of the country are in their mind, Trump versus Biden. And I would say, honestly, in 2019, I remember saying Trump already won the next election. So,
unfortunately,
that's where yeah. So, because just thinking in my lifetime, because I'm 29, I haven't seen one-term president my entire life.
Wow.
So when I put that into perspective, I don't think there's going to be any more of them unless they are just really bad.
I haven't thought about it like that. That's true. Bill Clinton was two. Bush was two. His dad was two. Obama was two. That's a good observation. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about having Trump as the president? Some people, I mean, you get mixed reviews. You got the people that are, of course, that love him. I'm kind of like in the middle. Not so much that I like him, but I like what he's causing, if that makes sense.
Right.
I like that he's forcing people to have to pay attention and to make a decision. Like, you have to realize, like, you can't rely on this government to take care of you or do things for you more proactive. What do you think about it?
That's where I am. Mostly in the middle. I mean, the white supremacist ties is very distasteful. But then, I mean, it kind of comes with the territory of the old money that he's in. So, but then on the other side, he said the whole time, he was like, I want to drain the swamp, I want to drain the swamp. So, him being a businessman first, I feel like that's how he operates and wants the country to operate. So as far as, like, I would say my perfect candidate was Andrew Yang. So who was basically Trump without the whole You know, Chicago, Park 5, like history and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's just, but even with the whole, you know, racism tied to him, it's forcing the conversation.
Yeah.
And it brought it back to life. Like, it still exists. It's a little more covert now. And now that he's been in office, the covertness is now being highlighted.
Exactly. So, that's what I like about it.
It's hard
people to have this conversation.
Yeah, so that ultimately I like that he forces people to have a conversation. So him and Kanye, they say stuff and people have a conversation, so I can't even be mad at what they say.
Yeah, as long as we're talking about it, I feel like that's how progress is made. You don't have to agree. At least you can understand both sides, and then you can work towards a better compromise. You know, because people are still going to feel the way they feel no matter what. At the end of the day, I don't think racism is ever going to go anywhere. People are always going to feel a certain way. But as long as we can acknowledge it, work past it, work through it, you know, I think that's a good conversation to have.
Yeah.
So now we're getting a few more people tuning in. Just want to say, man, I met you through Unity as well, which is a great organization. You know, I wanted a little bit because I believe they're going to be probably in these next few months even much more important to our community, helping people get through this transition period right now. I feel like this whole COVID is forcing people to now really be more proactive. All those businesses that they may have thought about starting in the past, they're going to start to do it now, especially with all this money that they're throwing around to businesses. People want to see how they can get a part of it. And with a group like that, with a group of individuals and the classes that they have and the information they give you, it just helps you jumpstart you and push you in the right direction. How do you feel about Unity as well right now?
Honestly, it's a great tool, especially if you're just starting out in business or on the fence. I can honestly say I probably wouldn't have started my business when I did if I wasn't in Unity as well. I most likely would have kept procrastinating. It would have been an idea. Probably would have been doing it illegally or something. But it was just, but that, like, Unity as well kind of gave me a blueprint to create the infrastructure that I needed to go forward doing business the right way.
That's dope. And I think that's very important, man, because sometimes people just don't know where to start, and they give you that good jumping off point. So now you know that you met Unity as well, that's what pretty much helped you start your business. How did you get started, and why did you choose to become a chef?
Funny story. So, when I was 12 years old, I decided that I wanted to be a psychologist. Specifically, because when I look at any field, I automatically want to go to the top, or as high as I can, just max it out. So, my plan was to get a PhD, be a professor, research. That's the top of the field. But then, when I got to my master's, I was in kind of limbo because I was done with my MAP General degree. So I went in for the MAP General. Got that I was done with that in 2 years, and at the end, I wasn't sure where I was going to go. And the option of doing the third year to become a licensed professional counselor was really just right in front of me. So it seemed like the right move at the time. And on the first day of summer school, I transferred into the MAP counseling. First day of summer school, I'd never been in summer school, so that was already kind of like a thing. First day, I have 2 consecutive classes that are about 2 hours long with the same professor, the head of the counseling department.
Oh, man.
And she was like asking us questions, like, you know, kind of going through the syllabus, asking us some questions, trying to basically preparing our mind for what we're about to get into. So then I was asking myself, I was like, do I really want to be here right now? And in her questions, I think I have. Okay, it's not in orange speech, so it might be. It doesn't matter. but I wrote in my notes, I think I'd rather be a chef. So I was just sitting in class for another 2.5 hours after making that realization. And I was like, yeah, I walked up to her afterwards. I was like, I'm going to transfer back to my original degree plan and just graduate. Like, I know I'm not going to be able to walk in May or this month because, paperwork. But I just knew. I was like, I always wanted to be a chef, but it was one of those things where you look at the occupational outlook handbook and stuff, and they're not the richest people in the world, or at least the average chef. But that was kind of the conversation I had with myself. I was like, well, everything I do, I don't stop at average. So that shouldn't deter me. So, made that decision. 2 years later, I transitioned to plant-based, and when I did that, my process was kind of extreme as far as the transition, because I learned the information, and then it became a conscious choice. So then I unlearned everything I knew about food except for seasoning, and then basically reconstructed my diet from ground zero. Wow. So that in that process, I was making all of my own food. Like I wasn't eating out, and I did that for like a solid 6 to 9 months, maybe like the first year. And that was before I learned how to navigate menus to make something plant-based if it's not a plant-based restaurant.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Mr. Believe. And if you guys are enjoying these interviews on the podcast and you want to catch an interview live, go and follow me on Instagram at kevbiyi. That's at KEV as in Victor, B as in boy, IYI. And you can definitely catch one of these podcasts live and in color. See you soon.
But yeah, that was really when the fire I started fanning that flame in year 2. Education at the time, and I knew I wasn't going to stay there forever. So that was when I started developing the business plan to market myself as a chef. And then after that year of being a teacher, I moved back to Houston, and I was like, well, this is what I came back here for, so let me present myself to the world.
That's dope. So what pushed you to become more plant-based? Because I also went on a journey where I became vegan for about 4 years. So what pushed you? What motivated you to become plant-based?
Mostly listening to my body. Because before I was plant-based, my diet wasn't necessarily, physically, I was considered healthy. I rarely get sick and stuff like that. So, compliments to the immune system. I guess I was blessed in that department. But my body just started reacting differently to dairy. Like, I used to eat cereal and milk all the time. And then it got to the point where I started feeling bad afterwards. And I was like, wait, what's going on? So I cut out dairy first. And I was never really a big fan of cheese. So, that was easy. And at that same time, I was just becoming more conscious of what I was eating. So that was when I was eating only, organic chicken or turkey and stuff like that. And then once I started kind of getting the information, because I never heard of vegan. I knew I didn't want to be vegetarian because I was just like, oh, that's just no meat. You still eat eggs and stuff. Yeah, so I just didn't want to be like a Tarian or just ism. I just wanted to eat. So I got the information. The one thing that stuck with me most, which is how I kind of flipped the switch, was the whole energetic aspect of consuming food. So, I wasn't one of those people who was scared away by watching videos of the factory and how that process goes. It bothered me, but I was just whether it's the factory or a butcher, it's still happening. So, I was just, for me, it was the energetic aspect of consuming what is now lifeless. So once my mind kind of fixed on that, I was like, well, if the body is the temple, it's either going to be a temple or a tomb. So when I looked at it from that aspect, I was just like, yeah, I don't really see why I would continue putting things that aren't alive inside of me. So that was like the launching point there. So, but that's just me personally. That like, as far as like my spiritual journey and stuff like that, because I look at people who eat meat, and I really don't care.
Yeah,
I think the perception that seen, or the perception that people have, is that I'm like really, really anti-meat, and it's like, no, that phase, like that early vegan phase where you're just like trying to convert everybody, like, look what I know now, we're eating dead. Like, that was a very, very small phase for me. Like, I was like, wait, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because just even thinking about from an anthropological perspective, there are people around the world, their only food source is meat. Like, that's the only way they can survive. Like, if you think of the Inuits, anywhere there's a harsh winter, like, that's how they have to survive. So just, coming down from that moral high horse, it's like, I recognize, well, I live in America, and there's a lot of choice that can be had. So, for me, it's more so a choice versus all of the, like, moral arguments against, animal cruelty and things of that nature. Like, yeah, that stuff's important, from a collective level, but at the same time, people are going to eat meat. Like, it's not going to go away. So,
it's not. That's definitely true.
So I just look at it as I put a focus on making vegetables taste good, and when I serve food, if someone wants to add meat to it, there's no judgment there. I just personally don't handle meat.
That's dope. I think I was on a similar journey as well. I was introduced to a guy by the name of Dr. Sabi. I don't know if you heard before. And I like his philosophy about it. Because he was more, as he calls it, the African bio-mineral diet. So he based it on people who were probably living in Africa at the time. But just his philosophy saying that your body is going to be more prone to wherever you're at. That's what your body is naturally to eat. And that just made sense to me. Like, if you were from Alaska, of course you eat more fish or more meat, like you said, in those more harsh climate areas. But if you're in a place that is lush with fruits and veggies everywhere, there's no need for you to go out there and kill yourself to kill this animal. You'd rather pick up the mango or the avocado, or those are more readily available to you. And then I saw this documentary, What the Health, on Netflix. And I saw, I didn't care about the killing. Like, it never bothered me killing the animal. But when I was a meat eater, I didn't care about it. I say somebody has to eat it anyway. You got to do something to it. But what bothered me was more what they were putting in the meat. The hormones, the antibiotics. Like, when they said about the milk, because I love the milk. I love cookies to eat milk with cookies and things, with cereal. When I saw they had like all milk has pus in it because of how often they have to milk these cows to mass produce. They just have to have a certain level to make it good enough to give people. That didn't sit well with me. I was like, how can you think it's okay to give me pus-filled milk just because it's not over a certain level? Right. I mean, that's when I was on that part, like, oh, no. But after a while, I realized, like, people are going to do it anyway. But for me, it was a similar journey. And I was vegan for 4 years, and then when I was being vegan, I started seeing a lot of people. I started looking at it like it was a religion. I was like, people are really crazy in this veganism thing. I just decided to say, I just like to eat whole plant-based foods. All the rest of that stuff, I don't care about it. You can kill your animals. You can do whatever you want to do. I just try to eat whole plant-based foods. That's it. As natural as possible. As close to the original as possible. That's what I want. Without as many antibiotics and all that other stuff as possible. That was what it was for me. I mean, the challenge for me was just finding things to normally eat, like changing my diet. I was such a heavy meat eater. But after a while, you get used to it. My body, I went from like 225 to like 175 in like 4 months. People thought I was dying. Yeah. But I knew because I did my research before I started. So I knew I was going to lose all that weight. And my body's going to recalibrate itself. It was just getting out all of the stuff in it for so long. Yeah. But it was a cool journey. Did you have something similar like that happen to you when you transitioned as far as like your body change, your composition?
No. Like, I've always been really, really, I've always been really lean. Honestly, I've been the same size since I was like 16. Like, gaining weight has always been a struggle for me. And that was, which was really frustrating. I used to be one of those people, like, I remember, like, I can see myself vividly doing it. One time I was 16, this was my junior year in high school, you know, so at that point I was like on varsity, I was like on and off varsity football. Yeah. And I knew I was too small, or at least in the coach's eyes, so I was like, man, I need to figure out a way to gain weight. There were times where I would go to my grandparents' house on Sunday and literally only eat meat, like ribs, sausage, like just straight, a whole plate of meat, no veggies. So I can understand how, like, now I'm on the complete opposite side of that spectrum. But it hadn't changed my body at all. I think, I don't know, it's really hard to pinpoint because I haven't really seen any change. The one change that I can say is that my recovery time from workouts definitely. Yeah, so it was like the energy things. Like before I switched, I just randomly decided one time to go a week without meat, and I had so much energy. I was bouncing off the walls. I didn't know what to do with myself because I was in school. I wasn't doing a lot, so I was just like, this is too much energy for the amount of activity that I'm doing.
Yeah, so then I forgot or something. Yeah.
But then, even then, because I was working out, so it was just so much energy, I wasn't busy enough. So now, fast forward, and I'm an entrepreneur, it makes sense now. It's like, okay, I need all that energy.
Definitely. So since you've been an entrepreneur for these past 2 years, is the diet and the entrepreneurship been about the same time, or did you start the diet before the business?
I started the diet before, so like a year and a half before. Okay. And that's where I kind of I started building my menu through the process. So like some of my menu items in my meal prep, like the first 5, maybe 6, I think, because I've been posting them with numbers to kind of tell the history. Like the first 6 were probably the first 6 dishes that I would eat like regularly. So almost every week, that was pretty much what I was eating. And then after I got that foundation, then I just started like experimenting more and building on that. And that's how I ended up building out my menu.
That's dope. What are some of the challenges that you face now that you're, mostly a plant-based chef? And people, everybody's not plant-based when you tell them I'm plant-based chef. I'm pretty sure some people turn their noses, like people are allergic to vegetables sometimes.
Yeah.
What are the challenges you face?
Yeah. The biggest one, to be honest, is probably the mushrooms. I'll find out about mushrooms. But besides that, it's just the education point, like the education part. Because in my branding and everything, I don't use the word vegan. Like, if somebody asks me, "Am I vegan?" It depends on whether they're vegan or not. Because if somebody who's not asking me vegan, I'll say I'm plant-based. But if someone who I know is vegan is asking me that, I'm just like, yes. But I don't use that because it's a trigger word and it gets really divisive. Mm-hmm. So just even so that was another challenge, which I kind of learned in my pilot testing before I started making all my marketing materials. So, and a lot of people, especially in the vegan community, they were saying, "Oh, you need to like say that you're vegan so people know." And I'm just like, if they're vegan for the right reasons, and I know that's subjective, but if they're vegan for the more conscious reasons, when they see plant-based, they'll know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
Like they don't have to see the word vegan to know that that's what they want.
Yeah.
So that in itself has been a challenge because I don't market myself as vegan. It creates kind of a hesitancy for some potential clients. But on the other side of that coin is it encourages conversation. So they're just like, "Oh, what do you mean plant-based?" And then it's a much more softer conversation where they're not on the defense about eating vegetables because everybody needs to eat vegetables. Like that's not optional.
It's not an option. Definitely, I can agree with that sentiment about vegan. I remember when I used to tell people a lot of times I was vegan. It's like people would watch what you eat, like, "Oh, you're not supposed to be. You said you're vegan. Oh, you're wearing an animal coat, or you're doing this. You're doing." I'm like, yo, like it's not that serious. That's why I just like dropped the whole title and said I'm plant-based. Right. The whole vegan is like I don't know. It's definitely a trigger word. It gets people riled up for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't understand. So, what are some of the biggest accomplishments?
Hey, it's Mr. Believe, and I'm here to tell you about Titan Protective Services, where they protect what matters most to you. Titan Protective Services provides innovative security solutions for apartment complexes, rental properties, and condominiums. We believe that as a family-run company, we are here to make sure your property is taken care of and protected from vandalism, theft, and destruction. Contact us today for your security needs. Visit www.titanproserv.com today or call us at 844-39-TITAN. That's 844-39-TITAN.
That you had thus far as a chef?
Great question. I would say pretty much anything that I did for the first time, it didn't just completely fall on my face. So, I would like getting my first client was huge. I've worked with a couple of families, so that's been huge. I did. There's like this vegan food festival called Vegan Fest. I went to the first one. I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. Went to the second one to kind of see how the market changed because the novelty was kind of gone. And then I ended up doing the third one. So that was pretty cool. Pulled off the festival basically by myself. I had my little cousin with me, but he wasn't really helping much. I did a school order for like 70 meals. That was huge.
Wow.
Because I never made that much food at one time. Like that was more food than the festival. So that was huge. And then I would say my last accomplishment would be for my birthday. I did the 3-course brunch to kind of gain momentum for that particular branch of my business and the whole curating events and menus that have themes and promote conversation, and then there's music with the DJ. The possibilities for that particular branch is endless, so I'm glad that I have kind of started that momentum, and now, with the video, there are people aware that that's something that I'm doing.
Yeah, that's dope.
So I would say, with all that wrapped in, my biggest accomplishment is, for once, sticking with it.
That's key.
And allowing myself to be in the light so that people are aware that, there's somebody like me out here doing what I'm doing.
Definitely. You have to bring that awareness. Some people don't understand it, but when the people in your circle who probably were meat eaters pretty sure some people have now thought about their diet differently just because you have decided to change. Mm-hmm. So what are some lessons that you've learned so far?
Man, I've learned a lot. Oh my gosh. Man, I've learned a lot about business in general, just operating, and then business to business relations, how the food business works as far as like competition is concerned. That's been kind of dicey, but now I'm on the other side of it, so I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna just keep doing what I'm doing, and everything, you know, I recognize it took me a while to kind of kill my ego on it, but I recognize that because of the way that I do food and my food is good, it does kind of create pressure for other business. I mean, I personally don't think I'm creating that pressure, but I can see how it's like, you know, you just kind of, when you look outside, I'll say like basketball. Basketball is an easy metaphor, but I imagine Kawhi Leonard looks at LeBron James and, well, maybe not Kawhi Leonard. He doesn't seem like he cares about anything. What's Luka Doncic, because he gets LeBron James comparisons. So I'm pretty sure he he studies LeBron, and with that comparison, I could imagine him wanting to embody that comparison, but also separate himself from it. So I kind of see myself in that same light, where people are looking at the foods that I'm making and the creativity, like, because of a lot of the things that I make, you won't find anywhere else. Because that's just, you know, a manifestation of my creative imagination. So when people are kind of looking at what I'm doing, so I'm trying to replicate, and it's like, oh, okay. So I guess that means I'm doing something right.
There you go.
So even getting to that perspective, like that was probably one of my biggest learning experiences, is just understanding that the value that I provide, and that I should be more focused and more proud of the fact that my creativity inspires other people.
Definitely. When people try to copy you, that's like a great form of flattery. I look at it like that.
Yeah.
And competition, to me, I feel like if you're worried about competing with somebody else, you should look at somebody more for inspiration.
Right.
So they probably get some ideas. But I don't think we should be competing with anybody. Like, everybody has their own mind, their own ideas. Whatever you make is definitely going to taste different from the next plant-based chef or the next whatever chef, any type of chef. It's the way you season, the way you taste it, the way you see it, it's always going to be different. So the only competition that there truly is with yourself, just to always keep improving, and you just get inspiration from the outside people. And some people will look at it like competition. That's when you kind of get in trying to copy. You kind of lose your way when you get too caught up into the competition like that, I think. So just stay in your own thing, man, and just, if people copy you, cool. That means they get inspired. Do something right. So when you have all these big events like you just had with your 3-course meals, I'm pretty sure sometimes organizing it and then cooking and getting everything together can get a little bit stressful in between that. Because I've done a few events, and getting closer to the date, you kind of get a little everywhere. So how do you cope with stress or in stressful situations? How do you deal with those?
So I will say the last event that I did was probably the smoothest one I've done. Yeah, so because of my learning experiences. So I would say how I handled that one. For one, I planned it maybe like 2 months in advance. Well, I knew I was going to do it 6 months prior, but then I actually started the planning process maybe 2 months before. And then I scheduled out the dishes. Like I had 1 week I was gonna test one, then I just had the process was just very organized. So because a lot of those actually, like all of the dishes that I came up with, I wrote the menu out and then I tested them one by one, and then the space. I was blessed enough to work with someone who had a low maintenance space and was also helping me at the same time. So I don't know, like everything somehow taken care of. All I had to make sure I did was bring the food and be on time.
That's good, man. That's good. Proper planning definitely helps.
Yeah.
Going on.
So it was mostly that. And then, of course, at least 3-4 times out of the week, I go to a kickboxing studio. So, because it took me a while to kind of get my rhythm, but I learned if I start my day off with a workout, like get out of bed, that's the first thing I do. It clears my mind and makes the rest of the day a lot easier. Like, a lot easier.
Definitely. I also kickboxing twice a week.
Yeah. Nah, it's
dope. I like it. I enjoy it. I've been doing it about 8 months now.
Yeah, it's great. Like full body workout. I get to tap into my inner child and be a Power Ranger for like
yeah.
It's just overall like a very healing experience for me. And then the mental clarity is just I advocate everybody find something that does that for them. Like it doesn't have to be martial arts for them.
Get moving in the morning. Get that blood flowing, the blood circulating. That's what really helps it out. So even though we have this COVID-19 going on, a lot of people are planning 5 years in advance. So I'm not saying what you're planning. I'm not asking what you're planning. But what do you envision? Or where do you envision yourself to be 5 years from now? Like, what do you see the grand scheme?
So, grand scheme. Interesting. So, when I originally wrote my business plan, that was in 2017. Yeah. 17, 18, 19, 20, 22. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, 2017. And my 5-year plan at that time was to have a food truck. It was, like that was it. However, that's still in the cards. But now that I've begun kind of marketing myself as a chef rather than the business per se, because they're tied together. Like I am the chef of the business.
Yeah.
However, the business is mostly a vehicle for my is to be presented. So that way, I didn't want to limit myself to serving like the same rotation of things on a truck 5 days on a week, like, and be stuck in the location wherever the truck is based and stuff. So the truck is still a move, and it'll likely be a situation where like I get it off the ground, but it wouldn't necessarily be my lasting enterprise. Because I also kind of believe in paying it forward. I saw this guy, he had a Subway restaurant or a Subway chain. I don't know if he gave it to him or sold it to him at a like super cheap price or something like that, but there was like this young guy who had just got out of high school, so he gave him the chain.
Wow.
So I just kind of look at it like that, where anything that I create, I want it to sustain, but I also want it to serve other people.
That's dope.
So that, and I would say the other part is to install something within the community that I kind of started out in when I was younger, or at least where my grandparents still install some type of infrastructure there that allows that community more access to fresh produce, fully grown produce. More so to kind of promote food justice and, attack that whole food desert situation.
Yeah.
In our neighborhoods.
Definitely food desert. A lot of food deserts out there. People don't even know they're living in one. But
right.
Full of fast food chains, you're in a food desert because you don't have no real food process. And with the food truck, I don't think you have to be stuck with a menu. I know some restaurants have like seasonal menus. Certain dishes. And then you can move around. You could do it like, I don't know, do different spots, different nights or something like that. But you still got time.
Yeah.
So what mistakes would you avoid or would you have avoided in the beginning?
If I knew then what I know now?
Yeah.
Oh man. To be honest, I probably would have done a lot less markets.
Ooh. Okay.
And with that, I would have been more intentional with how I did the markets and promoted my meal prep services a lot more. So you can kind of pilot test different dishes. And on my banner, it would say that I do meal prep, but because I was in pop-up mode, I wasn't thinking,
Hey, it's Mr. Believe, and I want to tell you about Unique African Boutique. It is a beautiful collection of authentic clothing, jewelry, accessories, and art that are made with the highest quality from artisans in Africa. What you get from Unique African Boutique, you can't get from anywhere else. Our entire collection is made up of one-of-a-kind pieces that promote the culture, music, and lifestyle of Africa, with care for the artisans and their families and their livelihood. Shop Unique African Boutique today at shopuniqueafricanboutique.com.
let me pull these people to meal prep. Because doing both is extremely difficult. Because it's just like, so I said, which it doesn't sound like it if I say it how I'm about to, but it really is. So if I'm meal prepping 2 days out of the week, so Monday, Wednesday, that also ties into Sunday because of grocery shopping.
Yeah.
So Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, meal prep, and then I would have events maybe on Thursday, on Fridays and Saturdays, and then take Sundays off. And the markets is literally a whole day affair. It doesn't matter what time it is. If the market is 4 hours, you're looking at maybe a 10-hour day.
So you got to get prepared. You got to clean up.
Like setting up, serve, break down, just like that whole experience. It was great to have. But it took me a minute to realize, this is not your wave.
Definitely. I commend anybody who does these pop-ups on a regular basis. It's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of work. Do you have any tips for any aspiring chefs out there or entrepreneurs?
Honestly, just start.
That's it.
That's it.
I like that. So a lot of times people just sitting on the fence wondering if they should or shouldn't. But if you never try, you never know. You might like it, you might not. But you got to give it a try first.
And then the other piece of that, yes, it's important to kind of engage your audience and see what they have, like see what they want. But I feel like when you start off and you're marketing yourself, even if you don't know everything or don't know it, I wouldn't, come out and basically tell everybody that.
Yeah, you'll learn it.
Yeah.
Like on-the-job training.
Yeah. But basically, so just kind of understanding that, because that's something I've been observing a lot with a couple people I know that thinking about breaking into serving food is they'll make something and they'll be like, I don't know, they're just trying to gauge interest.
Yeah.
And I feel like when that happens, like when someone can tell that you're trying to see if people are interested, it makes it questionable for them.
Yeah, kind of like, I'll let you figure it out.
Yeah. So just like learn marketing. So start and learn marketing while you start.
Exactly. Marketing is a big part of the business, man. You gotta market yourself. People need to find you. You gotta learn. Yeah. So now we're about to get into this or that segment where I ask you a few questions and we see how you think about these other, not too deep subjects, but get a little bit more about who you are. Before we get into that, I just want to tell everybody to join. If you want to join the Believe in Yourself community, just text BIY to 31996. That's BIY to 31996. Now, which one would you prefer? Audiobooks or podcasts?
I'm an audiobooks guy. I don't like podcasts.
Why?
I really like audiobooks.
Are there any
that
you recommend?
Any audiobooks that I recommend? That's a good question. Honestly, anything by Robert Greene. It kind of, just human nature and the fundamentals of life. He just breaks those down in a way. Well, I feel like most of his books are collections of the best pieces from a bunch of other books. So that's why I really like his books.
Okay.
And then what's another one? Grant Cardone. Sell or Be Sold was a good one.
Listen to the 10X.
Yeah, that. But and then anything that's spiritual in nature. Excellent audiobook.
Yeah, definitely. I'm an audiobook guy myself too. I don't like reading too much, but if I can get an audiobook, and sometimes I get the book, the hard copy with the audiobook, it helps me to get through it a lot more faster. But most of the people have been saying podcasts, man. A lot of people say they'd rather read the book and highlight and take notes and do all those things. But
yeah,
the audiobook are here.
Yeah.
So, what's your favorite app to peruse or for anything? Facebook or out of Facebook and Instagram?
I'm gonna say Instagram. I have not been on Facebook since 2015.
Wow.
And they won't let me back on.
What? What happened? You got banned?
I don't know. I deactivated. I permanently deactivated my Facebook in 2015 because I didn't think I'd ever go back. And I didn't. Like, even though I knew I was starting a business, in my mind I was like, oh, I don't need Facebook.
Yeah.
And then Facebook bought Instagram. And then I was just like, oh my gosh.
Definitely.
But it's all right.
You can try to make a new account with Facebook because at least the ads, I like Instagram myself too, but Facebook's, their ad portion, like for marketing and things, is so robust. Like the way you can target your market and then you can tie Instagram in with that as well. So you could definitely look into probably at least starting maybe a business page or something. Yeah. Just that part of it. Like the rest of it, there's just so much going on Facebook, man. I love it. I just started using Facebook this year. I've had a business as well. And I've been on Facebook before then since like whenever Instagram started being popular. Like I said. So this next is a music question. I know I sent you some other options, but I'm going to ask you this a different one. Because they just recently had a versus battle between two guys that I like. They were part of my childhood growing up. You're not too much younger than me, so I'm pretty sure you heard these guys. Who would you prefer out of Snoop Dogg and DMX?
Ooh, that's tough. That is really tough. Because DMX has said some of the most profound things I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
But then Snoop Dogg has a much larger catalog, and his music and collaborations have been moved.
Yeah.
So I'm tipping my hat to Snoop Dogg only because he's worked with Pharrell multiple times. So Pharrell was the deciding factor.
There you go. Pharrell's definitely a very, very good producer. That guy, he's on another level. I love that guy.
Yeah.
So then, let's ask you a little sports question. How do you feel? Now, I was going to say a comparison, but with all this stuff going on, how do you feel about the NCAA and the players wanting to go on strike? How does that make you feel?
It's a long time coming. I've been a huge proponent of NCAA athletes getting paid beyond that per diem stipend that they get. Yeah. I mean, like, because I've always, or when I was younger, I had every single NCAA football game, every single one, even the basketball until they stopped making them. And I used to wonder, like, do they get paid for this? Like, I know they don't have their names on it, but people, you know, customize the roster and then share it, so then everybody has their name. So it's,
yeah.
And then, not to mention, coaches, $1 million salaries, multi-million-dollar salaries.
Exactly.
And the best you can say is, oh, they get a free education. Like,
I'm definitely with the athletes on this one. I played college football myself at Florida International, and when I heard like some of the commissioners, like some of the I think they said that either the Big 10 or the Big 12, like the commissioner makes like $5 million a year salary. I'm like, how even can you not say that these players can play? Like, you don't do anything. Like, what do you do?
Exactly.
You have meetings, you talk about who's going to play who. Like, it's the players that make you all this money. Like, it's crazy, man. I hope they do hold out. I hope they do. Like, make the NCAA pay. That's the way I feel about it. This last question I asked because even though I'm a vegan, or even though I turned vegan, one of the things that was hard for me to give up was cookies. Two particular kinds. So I had to try to find ones that didn't have dairy, and it was another difficult thing. I don't like it. It was tough. But chocolate chip cookies or Oreos, which one would you prefer?
Ooh. I'm gonna say Oreos, and I have to plug Crumville, Texas. Her IG is Delicious Treats. She makes some vegan Oreos. Ooh. Anytime I go there, that's automatic. Like, even if I want cupcakes or something else, the vegan Oreo I'm getting every time.
Man, I gotta come to Texas. Jeez.
It's crazy. And she knows this shit.
Man, I gotta get there. So we're coming up to the end. I think we got about like a couple of minutes left on the podcast. Before we end, man, I just want to say, first of all, for coming on the podcast, being a great guest. I'm glad that you're a part of Unity as well, for where I met you and where we were able to connect. I thank you for being a plant-based chef. I feel like we get a lot more of those to educate people in the community, just to start the conversation. Everybody doesn't have to be plant-based diet-wise, but we need to eat more whole plant-based foods and just educating our people on what that is and why it's important for their bodies. I think you're doing a great thing, especially in our community. All we know, especially me growing up, is grilled, barbecue, fried. That's all I was using. So to switch over, man, to just see how, like for me, when I became vegan at the time, how it affected everybody around me and made people now think about what they were eating. And a lot of them these people actually changed heights after I did as well. So I just thank you for being an example and a pillar in your own community and stepping out there and making these meals and educating people on what plant-based really is. Before we get to end this podcast, I definitely want you to tell everybody where they can get in contact with you, how they can find you, and how they can get some of your great meals.
So my business Instagram is @Kitchen Ninja Services. I know it's a mouthful every time, but Kitchen Ninja Services, because I put service first. And then, of course, there's my profile, or my more personal profile, which is say _hi, _KEIF. And yeah, either or, you're going to see food, and you're probably going to see me talk about, why eating plant-based is important. And then, of course, if you ever want to order, hit my DM. If you're outside of Houston, I'm working on it. That's all I'm saying. Because I know there's some people outside of Houston who are waiting on me. So just
definitely.
If I get the logistics, we on.
Definitely. Get that meal service going. We can get that, expand the borders of your business. Always want to get that growth going in, brother. So, without further ado, if you guys are just tuning in, definitely go back and watch the playback. It's going to be live on my page in about 5 minutes. And definitely hit up Chef. Outside of that, I'll catch everybody on the next one. Peace.
Indeed. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
This show is brought to you by Believe in Yourself. Don't forget to visit IBelieveInMeInc.com. That's IBelieveInMeInc.com for all your BIY swag. That's I Believe in Me Inc. for all your BIY swag. And we'll see you on the next episode.